Hey everyone, what's up? It is BRAP. We did not have a BRAP last night. Frankly, just wanted to play some video games, but we will have a special BRAP this Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely want to check that out. But quick short video on Phil Spencer hinting at potential price increases coming for Xbox. So let's talk about it right now. All right, everyone, welcome to another Basement Radio Arcade podcast. Short video, quick BRAP video here. As I mentioned, no BRAP last night, but we will have a special BRAP this Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So give me a follow at BRAP_podcast so you can stay up to speed with all the latest show details when we go live and just general gaming conversation that I have on the Twitters. Also, do me a favor. Hit the like button. And if you're new to the show, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. So, yeah, I do have some interesting news here as it relates to maybe a potential price increase with all things Xbox. Phil Spencer was at the Wall Street Journal Tech Live event and spoke about price increases maybe coming to Xbox. He's hinting at this. Where, when Sony increased the price of PlayStation 5 in certain parts of the world, Microsoft did comment and said that, at this time, they had no plans at increasing the price of the Xbox console, but, also mentioned that they're always reevaluating their business, if you will. So, look, I've said this before, and this conversation happens quite a bit. Regarding $70 games. If you don't think Microsoft's going to charge $70 games, I have a bridge to sell you because, one, the market has already accepted $70. The cost of development for AAA games has gone up. Look, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but and not that I'm advocating for price increases because I know people are saying, "Oh, you're just advocating for businesses. You're poor. You're not pro-consumer. What are you doing there, BRAP? What's going on? I don't understand. Me and Hillary, we don't like price increases. When I was president," that's my Bill Clinton, by the way. So look, the cost of game development has increased. The cost of labor has increased. These costs will get passed on to the consumers. You look at MetaQuest right now, and they lost, I think, $3.5 billion. I think the last quarter from the Quest Labs. So, and they recently Meta instituted a price increase on their Quest headsets because the cost of doing business and they're losing money. So this is what these companies will do, and Microsoft will do the same, especially when you think about, again, the cost of AAA development. And again, look, there's a great article, GameIndustry.biz. I'll see if I can pull it up here and drop it in the comment section below. But GamesIndustry.biz actually gave it historical. Had a historical discussion as relates to the cost of video games. I mean, look, when I played video games, when you adjust for inflation, we were paying the equivalent of $150 today to buy AAA games in the mid 90s, and the relative costs have gone down, but the cost of labor have increased. The risk has increased. Less than 10% of all video games actually turn a profit and are deemed successful. So, So, if you think Microsoft's not going to increase price, I'm telling you, look, it's going to happen. The market's accepted it. Look, and again, people talk about the $70 price point, how it's anti-consumer. It's not anti-consumer. So no one's forcing you to buy or pay $70 for games. There's a variety of other options out there in the marketplace. There's Game Pass. People always talk about the value proposition of Game Pass. That's one way to avoid paying $70 games. Or you can do what a lot of people do, a lot of consumers do. They may see something at a certain price point, may say, "Hey, I'm interested, but I'm not interested at purchasing that item at the introductory price point, the day one price point." You can wait for these games to go on sale, and more often than not, unless it's Nintendo, their games will go on sale. So you have options as a gamer. I just want to just highlight that because I think that the $70 discussion is always framed in one way, that there's no other options, and we absolutely have tons of options that seemingly no one seems to discuss for whatever reason. But again, let me go back to what Phil Spencer said about Xbox um, to the Wall Street Journal. Now, so when speaking to Wall Street Journal Live, Phil Spencer suggested Xbox will not be able to maintain the prices it currently has forever. Phil Spencer went on to say, "We've held price on our console, we've held price on games, and we've held price on subscription. I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. I do think at some point we'll have to raise the prices on certain things." However, Spencer stated that it was important for Xbox to maintain the price that it currently has this holiday season so that its products appeal to uncertain consumers. So what he's saying is, hey, don't expect to see any price increases this year, but I don't know. Seems to be leaving that open for maybe 2023. And look, I don't think they're going to raise the price of Game Pass just yet. One other interesting tidbit that came out of this was Phil claiming that Game Pass was profitable. We'll talk about that on Friday night for our special Friday night BRAP that's going to go live at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I was talking to a financial analyst. There's some interesting accounting happening, and he seems to think that the profitability is basically them shifting P&L into Azure and things like that, which is fine. Companies do that. It doesn't mean that Game Pass is failing. I don't want anyone to think that, but companies, and I know this too because I work for one of the largest public accounting firms, global public accounting firms. And I can tell you that in supporting the audit practice, you do hear things that companies do get creative with their accounting to make things look more favorable on paper. And not that it's illegal or anything like that. There's ways to do it that are within guidelines and regulations. But anyhow, that's a whole nother conversation that's probably going to bore a lot of the listeners. But anyhow, but no, that's still, even that being said, him coming out and saying that Game Pass is profitable for them is great. I certainly want to see Xbox Game Pass continue to thrive because I do think it's a great value proposition for gamers out there who may not have the financial means to spend $70 each release, or maybe who don't want to be paying full retail price $70 and just want to have an access to a variety of content too. Look, there's so many different addressable markets within the gaming space that the more options, the better. So I do want to see Game Pass continue to thrive, to see Microsoft continue its investment, because I do think that Game Pass will have a bright value proposition, or I say bright, but will continue to offer a great value proposition to consumers who might be interested in that subscription service. So and it may push other competitors, maybe Sony one day, to drop their games day and date. Selfishly speaking, I would like for Sony to do that, but again, that's another conversation. But either way, again, want to see Microsoft continue to grow Game Pass and have some success, as I do think it offers a nice opportunities, not just for consumers, but I think for developers to potentially make money and get some exposure to their games that may or may not have received exposure releasing in the in the current retail model. So, but I do think that I don't think I've seen some people say that Game Pass, they're going to raise Game Pass. I don't see it just yet. I think they're still trying to grow Game Pass. To me, Game Pass is the play here. It's the platform. It is Xbox. Game Pass is Xbox. It's no longer about the console per se. I mean, it is. They still want to sell consoles, but Game Pass is the future. Game Pass is the platform, as Slow-Mo Backslap has said many times on BRAP. So I'm not so sure that it's going to be price increases with Game Pass subscriptions. But I do think, though, as we go into 2023 and we see what's on the table in terms of releases AAA releases or Starfield coming up, I do think you're going to see $70 games, and I do believe that is where you're going to see the increase. Where Phil is saying Xbox will not be able to maintain the prices it currently has forever. We've held prices on console. I don't see an increase on console. I don't see that unless something's happening where they're being impacted by inflation, things like that. But I don't see that. The dollar is still in their favor. It's still cheaper for them to manufacture consoles in China than it is for Sony or Nintendo, because those companies primarily are the Japanese yen is weaker to the Chinese yuan. But he says we've held prices on games. And he said, I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. And he also mentioned subscriptions. So I look, if you were to let's parse out console, I don't think we're going to raise prices on consoles. I don't see that happening yet. I should say never, because they did raise the price of the Xbox Series X in India, but anyhow, because of exchange rates, maybe that happens in Europe. But let's keep the conversation focused on here in North America. I don't see them raising the prices here in North America. And consoles, I don't see them raising prices on their subscription services with Game Pass. I think that they still want to make the barrier of entry as attractive as possible, and you do that through things like the dollar deal that they've done in the past. So, I think games is where you're going to see the increase. I think that is the thing that you can't do forever. When I say games, I mean AAA games. And he says, I do think at some point we'll have to raise the prices on certain things. And I think that certain things are the price of games. AAA games. We know that the cost of development for those games have gone up. And by the way, if you look at, bring up $70 games again. If you look at the last 40 years, and I'm telling you, pay attention. We're going to see another price increase at some point. Games went from $40, $50, $60, and now $70. And those price increases were a result of the cost of doing business, the cost to make these games. Right? You look at some of the budgets for these games, $500 million. I mean, it's huge. Rivals Hollywood. The cost of labor has gone up. Labor is a huge bottom line. It's huge to the bottom line, I should say. I was just on a call with the company I work for, and they mentioned that while the company's seen increased revenue last year, they saw increased revenue profitability last year, they also increased their bottom line because they hired so many people. So now they're tightening the belt because of that. But anyhow, that's another conversation. So I think that's it. I think that is where Phil is saying, hey, an increase is coming. We just can't, it just doesn't make sense business-wise for them to continue prices where they're at. Look, they are a for-profit company. They have a fiduciary responsibility, whether you agree with it or not, to do the things that are in the best interest of their shareholders. And part of that fiduciary responsibility is to make money. Legally binding by law to do that. Now, again, I know people are going to say, well, BRAP is just capping for $70 games. He's excusing this stuff. No, I'm just giving you the realities, the economic realities, and how these decisions are made. And you as a consumer ultimately have the choice still. And that's the thing that a lot of people, again, just don't seem to discuss enough, that, hey, in fact, as a consumer, you still have a choice. No one is forcing you to buy a $70 game. You have options. You can go through subscription services. You can wait for the games to go on sale. You can buy AAA games. There's so many options for gamers on the table in terms of how they choose or when they choose to enter an ecosystem or buy a game. So That's just something that's just not talked about and needs to be talked about. But these are the realities of how these business operates. And as consumers, we just need to figure out what works in our best interest. So, or what we see value in. So, yeah. So I think again, very interesting commentary by Phil today, hinting at an eventual increase to prices of Xbox consoles, games, subscription services. But I do think though that he is speaking of an increase more likely to happen in the cost of their AAA games, which I think are going to increase to $70. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll find out. Again, he's keeping things status quo for this year, but he said that, it's interesting. It's interesting. He mentioned the holidays, by the way, and I'm thinking to myself, why did he mention holiday? You could have said, hey, we think a price increase will happen at some point. He just could have left it that, but he specifically mentioned. Go back here. He specifically mentioned, and it could be that, again, I haven't watched this video. It could be that the person he was speaking to maybe asked them if had any plans of increasing prices during this holiday season. So that could have been a response to that too. I'll admit that. But if that question wasn't asked, and I'll have to go back and watch this video. But I've been trying to find it on the internet. I haven't been able to find it. I also need to subscribe to Wall Street Journal, by the way, and I would encourage anyone who is looking for one of the better, I think, news sites. I would recommend Wall Street Journal. But anyhow, but if that question wasn't asked of him about the holiday season and Microsoft increasing prices this holiday, then I think it's interesting for him to even bring it up without it being asked, because to me that would point to maybe something, in my opinion, something that there could be a price increase in 2023. So we'll see. But yeah, this is definitely a story that we're going to be keeping an eye on, keeping track of, and as soon as we get updates, we'll either talk about it during our weekly show, or I may do another quick video to talk about an update regarding this story. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know if you think that if Phil's hinting at a price increase across the board for consoles, Game Pass, subscription services, and games, or if you think it's just video games. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd be very interested to see what you all say. And then just remember too, this Friday, special BRAP this Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to get into some other comments that Phil Spencer made as relates to Apple, Google, and Xbox Game Pass. Phil saying it's profitable, so we'll talk about that too, and some of the other comments that he made in the show. We also have some big CD Projekt Red news that we're going to discuss as well, and we're going to discuss this arbitrary time frame that people have on when a remake makes sense to happen. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting conversation, because I've had that conversation today on Twitter, and I'm just like, where are these gamers coming up with this arbitrary, made up time frame that's bounded by some kind of regulatory or something by like the ESA that a game needs to be out of release X amount of years before you could do a remake. So anyhow, we'll talk about that on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. But again, thanks everyone for watching this video. Do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. And then also let me know your thoughts about Phil Spencer's comments on a potential price increase coming to the Xbox. So on that note, we're out. We'll catch you next time.